Hey everyone, today I'll be reviewing Valheim's building system by answering 5 key questions I always consider before buying any survival game. Each question will be rated individually, giving either 0, 0.5 or 1 point depending on how positively the question is answered, which makes the maximum possible rating a 5 out of 5. Let's start with the most important question: how easy and flexible is the building system to use? In Valheim, you build using the wooden hammer tool, which is craftable from the start of the game. However, construction is only possible when you are close to a crafting bench. The building mechanics are pretty straightforward. Right-click to choose the block out of the menu, rotate with scroll wheel, and place it with left click. The snapping system helps align pieces pretty quickly, but you can also hold shift to disable snapping for precise placement. When it comes to clipping, Valheim is very forgiving, allowing you to merge blocks together and create unique shapes. This adds a lot of flexibility when designing interesting structures. Because of all of this, it's easy to create basic houses, and the intuitive controls rarely cause snapping issues. However, the game's structural integrity and decay system introduce some limitations. The structural integrity system does prevent you from making really big structures with basic materials. But higher tier materials like ironwood beams offer a workaround for this. Water damage on wooden blocks is also a very big downside for me. Water damage makes wooden docks look perpetually broken and complicates building wooden porches. Personally, I feel this adds very little benefit to the building experience. One other thing to take note of: to have a fire inside of your house for cooking and sleeping near, you will need a functional fireplace to vent smoke outside. If you don't set this up right, you will take damage from the smoke buildup within the building. Personally though, I see this as a positive aspect because it adds an interesting problem to solve when building, although there is a good chance it might initially confuse some players. Despite these drawbacks, Valheim's building system is easy to use and highly flexible. For the user-friendly and adaptable building system, Valheim earns a full point in this section. Next, we look at how much shape and material variety is in Valheim's building system. Starting with the floor tiles, Valheim only has square floor tiles for each material, no triangles or curves, but it is possible to merge tiles together to create curved floors as well as other shapes. There are also smaller quarter tiles available for finer details where needed. Moving on to the walls, similar to the floor tiles, there are no curved or corner-specific walls, but the ability to merge blocks together allows you to create curved walls and cover flat corners anyway. As well, smaller quarter walls allow you to add more detail, such as placing windows closer to the edges of walls and door frames. Half walls also make adding a tiny bit of extra height to rooms and structures very easy. Core wood is also a pretty unique material when it comes to making walls. These round beams can be stacked on top of each other to make a pretty realistic looking log cabin wall. Stone and black marble blocks come in various sized bricks. These stone bricks offer a very different shape, aesthetic and feel compared to the previous building parts. These building pieces don't only change the texture of the blocks but also the shape and snapping of them as well. Next, we take a quick look at the endgame stone Grauston. This material introduces some special shapes. These include decorative pillars of various sizes, flat yet thin walls, which is uncommon for stone in Valheim, as well as arched Grauston pillars. Combining these different shapes together can result in stunning wall and window designs, although some pieces like arched pillars on walls may not fit together perfectly. Next, we look at the roof tile shapes. Wood-based roof tiles come in 2 angles, 26-degree tiles and 45-degree tiles. Each set of roof tiles includes tiles that can be used to seamlessly change direction of the roof. You can also merge roof tiles together to create circular roofs or other roof shapes. Combining the 2 different angled roof tiles together can also make some pretty interesting roof designs. But Grauston roof tiles differ slightly. They only have 45-degree tiles and curved tiles. Instead of inverted corner tiles, they have triangular pieces that add a bit more flexibility. Personally, I prefer the inverted corner pieces over these triangle pieces, but both of them work really well. Next, looking at the material variety, Valheim includes a few core materials: wood, core wood, stone, black marble, ash wood, and Grauston. Using a combination of these materials helps add colour to your buildings. As an example, this Tudor-style house uses a combination of regular wood walls and ash wood beams because of the dark and light contrast. While Valheim might not have the largest material variety, the available materials are enjoyable and versatile to work with. For the excellent shape variety and the good material variety, Valheim earns another full point from this section. Next, we look at how long it takes to gather materials and construct a base in Valheim. In the early game, wood is the primary building material, and it can be gathered pretty quickly even by a new character. This makes gathering resources for your first small to medium-sized base relatively fast and easy. However, gathering resources for larger or higher tier structures requires significantly more time and effort. Materials like tar for dark wood beams and roofs, and iron for ironwood beams require significant effort to gather in bulk. But for most regular-sized buildings you won't need to use ironwood beams. On the other hand, if you decide to build with darkwood roof tiles and beams, gathering a lot of tar can be a time sink. In conclusion, it doesn't take long to gather materials for early game structures. But farming for endgame structure materials requires a greater time investment. However, it is entirely possible to use an early game structure throughout the entire game if you don't want to invest the time into grinding higher tier base materials. Personally though, I do wish some of the higher tier building resources were easier to get in bulk. So next we look at how long does it take to build a nice house once you have all the resources. Constructing the core shape of the base is quick thanks to the snapping system, taking maybe 10 to 20 minutes at most for a medium-sized build. However, adding decorative beams, overhangs, porches, and other fine details can be time-consuming, easily doubling the construction time or even more. But because you get 100% of the resources back when you destroy something, you don't need to gather them again, speeding up the time it takes when experimenting. The time it takes for interior decoration varies greatly depending on the level of detail you want. But for simple decorations, I find the step goes quickly enough once you have the resources. In conclusion, Valheim earns a half point for this section. While it is quick to build bases and gather early game materials, the mid and late game material grind often makes me less enthusiastic to use those rarer materials for building and survival. Next we rate how good a base can look once it's finished. Starting with early game buildings. Early game buildings can look quite impressive shape-wise. The basic blocks allow for the creation of interesting shapes with details such as ridges and overhangs. However, without decorations like coloured banners, early game buildings often lack the colour and shade contrast needed to truly stand out. Mid-game buildings can look really good. The addition of darkwood beams and roofs provide the necessary shape contrast needed to make them stand out. Mid-game building pieces also feature unique shapes, such as the spiky appearance of darkwood roof tiles and the arches from the darkwood beams, adding to their visual appeal. Next, endgame buildings definitely gain a lot from the shapes provided by groused and pillars, and the shade contrast from the ashwood beams. Personally, I have recently been enjoying using ashwood beams to create Tudor-style houses, combining regular wood walls with ashwood beams to get the light and dark contrast. The interior design options also improve visually as you progress through the game. Early game furniture tends to look simple and functional, often looking like it was roughly crafted from wood. In contrast, mid and late game items are more decorative and aesthetically pleasing. But in my opinion, both early and late game furniture looks great at any stage of the game. Because the buildings can look incredibly good both inside and outside, Valheim earns another full point for this section. Lastly, we tackle one of the biggest questions for any survival game. How useful is the base once you have spent all that time building it? In Valheim, your base helps with lots of different things, such as sleeping, cooking food, storing items, and crafting new equipment. Both resting and eating cooked foods made within the base give you buffs that help during combat. Higher tier furniture gives you a comfort bonus, extending the duration of the rested buff. All of this makes the base very useful for preparing to take on enemies. Also, inventory space and weight capacity are limited on your character, making a dedicated storage space crucial for manageable progression. Refining materials and crafting new equipment is much easier at an already established base. because crafting benches require numerous upgrade components, making it very impractical to set up new crafting zones frequently. Farming both animals and crops at your base ensures a consistent food supply that is more reliable than foraging on its own, especially when playing in a group. Not only that, your respawn point is your bed, making it a very valuable reason to establish a base and multiple outposts around the map. Having an outpost near where you're currently exploring provides a convenient respawn point if things go wrong. Portals can also link your bases together, allowing quick travel between them with minimal effort. However, on default settings you can't carry metals through the basic portals, which adds a strategic layer to base placement and resource management. Because there are a ton of reasons to use and interact with the base, Valheim earns another full point from this section as well. This brings the total score for Valheim's building system to a 4.5 out of 5, earning it the Golden Hammer award. Valheim's building system is truly enjoyable and fun to use, and the bases you construct will become a core part of your experience while playing. Well, that's it for this review. If you want to check out more buildings made in Valheim, check out the video on screen now to see my 10 favourite Valheim builds. If not, I plan to review the building systems of other games in the future using these same 5 questions. I hope you enjoyed the video and thank you for watching.